Welcome back, everyone, to Not Your Advisor with NYU Grad. Happy Friday, April 19th, after market hours. Before I jump into the session, it was a bloody one. I wanted to do something a little different today. And I'll have to set this up because I'm not really used to sharing myself like this in public. As you know, I've remained pretty anonymous up until now. There's little hints and clues of my background. But there was a disturbing story today that someone who's also obviously human being first, but someone on Substack who's a writer set himself on fire outside of the courthouse where the criminal trial for Donald J. Trump is going on. Now, this happened literally less than half a mile from my residence in New York City. And apparently, I didn't, like, the person posted kind of like a letter of his grievances, and I didn't read it all, but the gist was that, he had issues with where we are in society. He felt that it was kind of like a Ponzi scheme. The system is against us. And, it's a way for him to get publicity in a horrific way because all the news cameras are there at this trial in New York City. He set himself on fire. It definitely got what he wanted. It's all over the news. But it was sad, horrific, and it kind of inspired me to think about how I can not even contribute feedback or give comment on this, but I wanted to kind of inspire folks to not harm themselves. And I'm going to do this in a haphazard way of telling a story. And this is going to be disjointed because I didn't have this scripted, okay? I'm literally doing this open mic, and I'm just vomiting my thoughts. But I really feel that if you have a grievance and you have a bone to pick, the last option should really be harming yourself, right? Like, I'm not an expert. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. But whether you believe you get one shot at this life or not, it is empirical evidence that you are in your existing life, this one life. And I feel that it's our job to maximize that life. Without harming others or harming yourself. Those are kind of just like my foundational rules, right? So why I'm going on this rant is my brain is like all over the place today, but there's a crass scene in The Wolf of Wall Street, the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he talks about, I've been a rich man and I've been a poor man. I choose rich every effing time, right? And his gist, and it's very crass, it's very boys club Wall Street, okay? But deep down, underneath the psyche, what he's trying to convey is, if you're late on your bills, if, you're not respected in the community, if you want to change global hunger, if you want to stop crime in America or whatever country you're in, he's basically, in a crass way, saying, get rich. Become the president. Become the dictator. Become the richest man in that neighborhood or country. And once you are that person, that man or woman, you can make the change. Maybe you don't see that scene that way. Maybe Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese didn't mean it that way. But when I saw that scene, that's how I took it. All right, like whatever problems or ills you have of this world that you live in, just get rich, get powerful, and make the change you want to see. So when I look at the message that way, I would agree with it. Not rich as in wealth, but rich in your spirit, your time available to you to do important work, and rich in your network of people, right? Because I know a lot of great leaders through my career and just network. And if you have the right network, you can cause a lot of positive change. So why the hell am I going through this as a prelude to my backstory of why I've never wanted to work in Wall Street, and I never really did? So this is where story time begins. So I'll give you context a little bit about my character when it comes to work ethic. I legally immigrated here in 1980 from a Asian country. I know there's a lot of sleuths and detectives on the internet, so I'm not going to give much more information than that. I immigrated here. My parents wanted a better life for my future. Ironically, if we stayed where we were at, I wonder how I would have turned out, because a lot of those Asian countries skyrocketed in development. But anyway, we came here, and my first job was in first grade. I saw my mother working 3 jobs trying to support me. And I wanted to help in first grade. So at the time, I was living in a neighborhood in Queens called Sunnyside. And I took it upon myself because at the time, my dad wasn't around much. And that's a whole nother story. But my mother was working 3 jobs. My grandmother came from our home country to take care of me during the day. I was a latchkey kid, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go help. I don't know English that well. I know enough from watching television. I'm going to go hawk myself to retail stores like Hallmark stores, stationery stores. Say, look, I just want to work 5 hours a day. Will you give me a job? And this was in Sunnyside. And they let me work there for a day, but then they called my mother to come pick me up. And she was super embarrassed, right? Like, she felt horrible that her, first grader son felt the need to do this. But that kind of gives you kind of the backbone or backstory of my work ethic. I didn't grow up with a lot, but my mother made sure that I always had food and clothing on the available to me. So fast forward to high school. I took in New York City. The 3 most prestigious high schools are Brooklyn Tech, Bronx Science, and Stuyvesant. At the time, it was in the early 90s. You have to test to get in, and I tested well. I only made it to Brooklyn Tech. Some of my friends made it to Stuyvesant, which is right, literally, I could walk there now. I didn't make it there, but they're all far away. Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech, from where I lived in Queens. And the commute would have been like an hour and change each way to school. So I said, F that. I can make it going to my crappy public school that doesn't have lockers, that has a horrible reputation. I'm going to go there because it's only 15-minute walk from my house. And after school, I can go work part-time, and buy a car. So, my folks, my mom didn't have enough money to buy me a car, and that's something that I really wanted here in New York. So that's what I chose to do. I foregoed Brooklyn Tech, a prestigious school, so that I can work part-time to buy a car. So when you don't grow up with a lot, little things like a car means a lot. So that's just set the stage for my mentality going into NYU. What am I going to study? And for those that don't know, I actually got a full scholarship to go to USC for film school. I had a whole portfolio. They accepted me full ride, full boarding. I could have the tuition and board was free. And it was like a passion thing for me to create content. I made it. I also made it to NYU Stern, and I almost accepted. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna go. I can't leave my mother here by herself. I'm gonna go to NYU, study finance, so I can make the most money as effing possible to get us out. So that's my mentality, okay? So, for those internet detectives, you will know that Goldman Sachs at that time did not have an internship program. So, luckily for me, I was involved with a business mentorship program in high school for underprivileged kids. This was a godsend because at the time, my mentor was at Boston Consulting Group, working crazy 70-hour weeks at Boston Consulting. And he was kind of showing me the ropes around that office, what his job was. And, I didn't know anything as a kid, what that career meant. So it was a good experience. It was good for my resume. It was good for college applications. I don't regret it at all. And it actually paid dividends. Because when I got to NYU, my mentor switched from Boston Consulting Group to Goldman Sachs. And it was important while you go to Stern, NYU, to have internships at the prestigious consulting firms and Wall Street firms during your 4 years of undergrad, setting yourself up for that full-time job out of college. So we would load up all of our classes for either the afternoon or the morning, so that we can then go internship at these companies during the day and work for free. And you would have to compete to work at these companies for free. But Goldman was not part of this program. So I had the lucky distinction of being in the hallways of Goldman in the 90s through the mentorship program that I started in high school. And I was helping him. He worked on the investment banking division on mergers and acquisitions. He did not work on the Daimler-Chrysler merger, but that was going on in the 90s. It closed in 98, but it was going on during the 90s when I was at NYU. And I met some of these people that were doing the underwriting for the Daimler-Chrysler merger. And it was Goldman and I think Deutsche who were sharing the underwriting duties. And through drinks, I met some of the folks on the Daimler-Chrysler team. And there was this one guy who didn't really engage much with me, but was important. But no one really talked about him much. So in one of my private lunches with my mentor, I asked him about this person that worked on the Daimler-Chrysler deal. And he knew him fairly well as a colleague. And without going into too much detail, what basically he told me was that he had 3 kids, a wife, and at this time, Goldman, they didn't have their new headquarters on Battery Park. They were in still like a block south of Wall Street. And he was like, look, he lives at the hotel across the street, and it's kind of sad. I'm like, what do you mean? Like he have a house in, Westport, Connecticut, beautiful family, 3 kids. Like, what the heck is he doing in a hotel? Apologies, that is my dog guarding the door. So the cautionary tale here was that he worked himself to the bone, never had time to go home, lived across the street at a hotel, never saw his kids, was hiring hookers every other day, doing drugs. Makes a lot of money. Made a lot of money on that Daimler-Chrysler merger. A lot of money, okay? And as I was graduating, I had done my rounds, not only through this mentorship program, my connection there, but through, without naming too many firms, one of the leading brokerage houses on Wall Street at the time, who no longer exists. They were absorbed through the 2008 financial crisis. So I worked both the buy side and the sell side, and I had seen many other things like that story in other versions, and I gave you the context of my upbringing. I had no doubt that if I chose to work on Wall Street, I'd probably end up somewhere like that poor gentleman on that Daimler-Chrysler merger deal. And I didn't want that for myself. And maybe I'll peel the onion a little bit a little bit later or another time. But during my undergraduate degree, I had met one of my closest friends through school. And keep in mind, at that time, my dream was to get material things, right? Like when we grow up as a kid, it's kind of like what we always wanted to get, like a nice car, a nice house, etc. But at the time, like this person, my friend, would become one of my best friends. He already had all these things through like his own family business. He already had the nice fancy cars, the Lamborghini, the Ferrari. Obviously, it wasn't his, it was his parents'. But having access to those things desensitized me for wealth that means nothing. Because I literally just stopped wanting material things that I've always pined and dreamed about as a kid. Because anytime I wanted to go drive that Diablo or drive that Testarossa, I could just go to their house. So that is kind of my cautionary tale, long-winded version from, giving some context about my experience at Goldman. Maximize your life not in the terms of wealth generation or just money. That's important too. Don't get me wrong. You got to pay your bills. You got to be able to grow. But more so, be rich in time, your free time or your investable time to do projects. Be rich in your spirit, fulfillment. Be rich in your relationships in your life. So that if you have something that you want to make better in this world, or you have a bone to pick in this world, you can go about it and fight it the right way. And I'll close out with Mackenzie Scott. If you don't know who she is, and I'm sure she's a very smart lady, but she's mostly known for being the ex-wife of Bezos, the Amazon founder. And through that divorce, she became insanely wealthy, right? I'm not saying she's not smart, okay? She's probably very smart. But for someone to, have billions, be like top 10 wealthy person in the world, being married to Jeff Bezos helped, okay? But my point is that she's like committed to donating majority of this wealth to causes, whether right or wrong, or good causes or bad cause, whatever it is. She's given away $16 billion of that wealth. And I'll be honest with you, $16 billion is more than I will probably make in my lifetime. She's given it away. So before you do harm to yourself or someone else, because you have a bone to pick, do yourself a favor and grow. You don't have to have a lot of money, but grow your network, grow your spirit, and grow your time so that you can make a difference without hurting yourself. That's kind of my long-winded backstory and why I'm even covering this. So with that said, let's jump into the Friday session, shall we? Let's cover breath. All right, so today we had 59 new highs and 314 new lows. 53% of stocks were advancing versus 42% declining. 75% of stocks are below its 50-day moving average, and 44% of stocks are below its 200-day moving average. Now, this breadth number is not that bad, meaning that when we had 314 new lows versus 59 new highs, I've seen this at 59 new highs versus 1,300 new lows. So in the grand scheme of things, that breadth number is not that bad. Where it was very valuable to me on Thursday was it was similar with the Dow up during the afternoon, which told me that that rally was fake. And I'm going to kind of peel the onion on this a little bit today. But overall, you had the Dow up 211 points or 0.5%. The NASDAQ down 319 points or down 2.05%. The S&P down 43 points or 0.88%. And the Russell, because I believe of regional banks, were up positive today. Taking a look at mega caps, I'll cover this in more detail in the show notes with charts, but for the free members, I want to cover this. You had Microsoft down 1.27, Apple down 1.22, Google down 1.1, Meta down 4.13, Amazon down 2.56, Tesla down 1.92. These are all percents. And then NVIDIA down 10.01%. The semiconductor group as a whole got clobbered, annihilated today. You have Broadcom down 4.3, AMD down 5.4, Qualcomm down 2.36, Intel down 2.4, Micron down 4.61, Texas Instruments down 2.44. Then you had semiconductor equipment groups like AMAT down 2.3, LRCX, which is Lam Research, down 2.10. It was a bloodbath. When you take a look at groups, you'll have to excuse my dog here, but when you take a look at groups, technology led down for the day, 2.85%. Communication services down 1.5%. Consumer cyclical down 1.02%. And on the upside, what sectors were positive? Utilities, energy, financial. For the week, technology was down 7.2%. Consumer cyclical down 4.18%. Real estate down 3.17%. This is all for the week. Communication services, that includes Google, Meta, down 2.72%. Basic materials down 1.29%. It was a real bloodbath, and the last 48 hours were kind of crazy. It started last night on Thursday with the reporting of Israel and Iran and the conflict escalating there. And at 11 p.m. Eastern, the Dow was down 258 points. I think the peak of the red was like 300 plus points on the Dow. But by the morning, we started to claw back. By like 6 a.m., I was up pretty early today. The Dow was only down 130 points. By 7:40 a.m., the VIX was getting crushed from $21 to $18 and change. The ES futures contract had basically rallied all the way back to Wednesday's close, and by 8:30, the Dow 30 or the Dow was up. The S&P futures were up by 8:30 a.m. Just to kind of plug myself a little bit, throughout the session today, I've been very active on Substack Notes and Substack Chat, especially with the premium group. Around lunchtime, I had posted, we're at the lows of the day. If we can't mount even a bounce from this oversold level, it would indicate serious trouble. And from that post, we sold off hard. And what tipped me off again was breadth. There were expanding new lows versus new highs, and the VIX started to explode higher from that moment, right after the lunch break. Around 107, I had posted the breadth numbers. Really, like we were still like at 55 new highs versus 251 new lows. And I asked, who's fooling who here? So it was not a time to go long new positions. And when you take a look at the ES futures contract in the afternoon, I drew, a rudimentary Fibonacci retracement channel here, and we barely got to the 50% retracement. And basically, NVIDIA was crapping the bed. We lost the 50-day moving average like nothing. And I had posted yesterday and a few times before, if we break the March 8th lows and we break the 50-day moving average on NVIDIA, we are going to head to 725. I had no idea that we'd go to like 770 in two candlesticks in the afternoon. So if you value the content and you want to learn how to see the market structure and prices, probably in a way that Wall Street does not want you to see it, and how to rationalize price action, I would highly recommend that you subscribe and upgrade, because I think you'll find value in it. And again, you can sign up monthly, and if you don't value it, you can just not renew. So it's not a big deal, and it's like literally 60 something cents per day. It's not much. And I work hard for delivering the content. So I would welcome you to subscribe and upgrade. Let's keep peeling the onion. So what stuck out on this Friday? It was really a bloody sell-off. There was heavy rotation into safety. NVIDIA was down 10% on the day, and the NASDAQ was down 2% on the day. What was strong? How in the world did the Dow close up? Well, take a look on the show notes for premium members, but I'll just kind of rattle this off. You had American Express up 6.23%, not dollars, percent. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, what's up? Up 2.51%. When the markets crash, everyone calls Jamie Dimon. So if you know Jamie Dimon personally, you are doing well in life. Amgen was up 2.35%. Coca-Cola up 2.14%. Travelers Insurance up 1.7%. But basically, all the safety names were up today. They sell things like NVIDIA, and they go into things like AbbVie and J&J, Q-tips. So what was weak? Holy crap. This is a long list. But it's not so long. I've had longer lists, but it's the percentage drops that are just astounding. So again, I don't want to say percent 20 times. These are all percents, okay? SMCI down 23% today. ARM down 16.9. NVIDIA down 10. And Netflix down 9. ACMR down 8.78. VinFast Autos down 7. AMD down 5.44. SMH, which is semiconductor as a group, 4.52. Broadcom 4.31. Meta 4.13. SOC, Semiconductor, Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, down 4.12. Monday.com, 3.8. Lyft, 3.3. Sprout Social, 3.34. ASML Holdings, 3.3. Coinbase, 3.2. Cart, Instacart, 3.21. Airbnb, 3.18. Palantir, 3.12. Roku, 3.05. Kava, 2.98. Dell, 2.96. Uber, 2.95. MicroStrategies, 2.82. My God. Natural Gas, 2.79. Amazon 2.56, DR Horton 2.53, MongoDB 2.41, Intel 2.4, Qualcomm 2.3, DraftKings 2.3, Rivian 2.27, DoorDash 2.25, NetApp 2.19, Zscaler 2.17, ARC 2.12, the NASDAQ itself, Futures 2.10, Lam Research 2.10, Reddit 2.01, and Restoration Hardware 1.99. I can keep going, but this was a bloodbath. So my takeaway here for the free members, we should bounce, okay? We just threw all of our precious cats out of the window. It should bounce on Monday, okay? We definitely, like I told you about the red lights, green lights for moving averages and things holding where they should be. We should, technically speaking, rally very, very hard on Monday. Okay? But if we cannot rally from this type of sell-off and we continue to sell off on Monday, that is bad. And every rally today was like a whack-a-mole. They were just selling it off. So that tells me that's not you and me, Joe Schmo, selling our 1,000 shares, okay? This is institutions just selling as much as they can into these rallies. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the story time. I don't usually do that, but give me some feedback, whether you're free or a premium member. Did you like story time? Do you not care about that stuff? And do you just want me to dive right into the quantitative? Let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Premium members, please stay on. I do have some charts to cover, some juicy charts. And I will see all the free members after the Monday session. Have a great weekend. Premium members, please stay on.